Good afternoon, friends. Stephen Ben-Nun with Israeli News Live. We're over here on Patreon with you, with our friends here. And this is a kind of a short video, but it's something kind of related to the teaching video I'm going to release today on Israeli News Live or later tonight. And I wanted to share this with you, though. This something a little different here. So I've got two articles up I wanted to show you. And although this is just kind of a partial stop, say for example in shipping containers, etc., stuff like that, ocean shipping to and from Russia halted by container lines. And if you read in the article here, talks about these companies represent 47% of global shipping trade. Nearly half the shipping trade is about to come to a complete stop. And this, of course, they're saying is because of the war in Ukraine. Also, for example, this came out here in January of this year. FAA issues mysterious order to ground air traffic over national security threat. Air traffic was grounded Monday in part of the U.S. and West Coast and Hawaii, but explanations are vague, leading the website The Drive to call the incident a mysterious air traffic halt that leaves more questions than answers. Well, we're going to see an increase of this, especially in light of the wars that are going on. I mean, take, for example, right now, I just reported on Israeli News Live. I haven't actually loaded it as of yet, but I'll just kind of pull this back up. Let's see if I can pull this up here. Iran, U.S., and then what we have over there, we have missiles. Let me get the right words in here. They were actually, maybe I'll put herbal. The U.S. base there, wrong spelling of herbal. Here we go, right here. We have here Iran firing in missiles at a U.S. base in Iraq, or at least this is alleged right now. There you go, right there, one hitting the ground there. So more and more we're going to see wars are going to spread globally on these issues here. And as that happens, you're going to see air traffic coming to a close. You're going to see shipping traffic coming to a close. But why? What's the real reason behind all of this? I think even Mike from around the world on Paul Begley's program mentioned that eventually they'll stop air traffic. They'll stop ocean traffic. And this is something that I've been made aware of as well, that these things are going to happen. And it'll be as this planet, this binary system gets closer. If you've ever looked, and of course, we have to go outside of our own Bible to find some of these ancient documents there. There are documents out there, and I'm not saying this in reference to there are some biblically certified documents. They're not. But they're historical nonetheless. And Egypt, there's a lot of documents there that in one particular one, it literally talks about when it describes the time when the Exodus took place. It's their account of the Exodus. Very striking similarities between that and our biblical account, except for in one place it actually speaks about that the ships were sucked under the oceans from the whirlpools, that they were just ripped from their moorings and sucked up underneath the oceans. And these are the type things that I've been told from the sources I have in Washington, that we're going to see such turmoil on the earth that besides the earthquakes, the lavas, the storms, things of that nature there, even the oceans, the waters will become so hot. All kinds of things are going to happen. And you have to understand, the people in Washington also rely heavily on ancient documents. Some of them are classified. Like, for example, we have a Mayan document that is classified that's never been made public that tells a lot of the events. I know there is I think it's Marshall Masters. He uses the Colburn, which is an Egyptian account, what they call a Colburn Bible. Now, I do not recommend that as a Bible by no means, but it does document from their perspective of what took place. And it's very clear, very obvious that from the way they record it, they speak about this as being Planet X pretty much that passed through during that time. We can see scripturally that it's definitely coming again. When I look over, for example, in the book of Revelation, let's see, right here, Revelation chapter 6, I think we're looking at the sixth seal, if I remember right. Yeah, the sixth seal. And lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair. The moon became as blood. The stars of heaven fell into the earth as a fig cast her untimely figs when she's shaken of a mighty wind. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together. And every mountain and island were moved out of their places. The kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man, hid themselves in the dens and the rocks of the mountains. You read this, and then you read some of these other documents that are written, whether it be by the Egyptians or even even literally in our own Bible, and there's other places there that seem to speak of that binary system coming through. This is so accurate what we see in the sixth seal, and this is yet to come. Sixth seal is prophecy of what's coming. I even look at Matthew, for example, and I'll be talking to that in this teaching today. When you look at what Matthew and Jesus says here, heaven and earth will pass away, but my word shall not pass away. But at that day and hour knoweth no man, not even the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. Now, I know I've taught this so many times, even the part about this hybriding again as it was, because we know this is when the giants and stuff intermingled with man. But you got to also look at the fact that he says, heaven and earth will pass away, but my word shall not pass away. We see when Jesus speaks about in Matthew 24, immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of heaven shall be shaken. I mean, Jesus is giving you a prophecy so prophetic of what happened like during the flood, and he even compares it to the flood, just before the days of Noah were. Giving you all kinds of signs that we would look for. We also have in Matthew 24, you got the wars and things that happen. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. And what's very interesting is we have had wars and rumors of wars, that have been going on now for the last couple of years. We've had earthquakes and all over the place on the planet. And that's only the beginning of the sorrows. Now, and then of course what's also interesting is they talk about the false prophets. Many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. And there is a lot of false prophets out there right now trying to tell you that you got to be in Israel. You got to get up underneath these rabbis. These rabbis have got the answers and things like that. Well, if they had the answers, Jesus wouldn't have called them a bunch of vipers and serpents either, would he? No, he wouldn't have done that. So no, they don't have the answers, but a lot of false prophets are going to lead you in that direction. Listen, look up some of the videos I've done on the teachings of the fulfillment of prophecy, things that I even used to think was future prophecies that I discovered were fulfilled as I really began to examine them and break them down, especially taking a hold of the skirt of him that is a Jew. That was Jesus Christ it was speaking of. And I show the fulfillment of these beautiful prophecies that were fulfilled in the times of Christ. But anyway, I wanted to kind of share some of that stuff with you there because I can, and I don't say this is what they're doing this for now, but the pretext of war, things like that gives them good reason to put a stop to shipping. Eventually give them a chance to put a stop to flight. And yet they can use the pretext of global war and stuff. It's just not safe to fly. It's not safe to ship right now. But all the while, as I've already shared with you, Planet X, September this year, I have been told that it is entering our solar system. By the end of the year, it's supposed to begin to affect the planets. What does that mean? I don't know. And the other thing would be then, how long does it take to get to the Earth? You got to remember, though, like, for example, Jupiter, let's kind of look this up real quick here. Planets, orbit, the sun, how long does it take? There we go right here. Let's see. Let me put times on there. Because I know that the different planets, when they're orbiting, the planets that orbit the solar system, etc., they all have, they got different times, and I don't know if this is the one that does that or not. I don't guess so. That's not the one I'm looking for there. But the whole thing is that how long does it take the Earth planet to orbit the sun? All right, we know how long the Earth to take. Okay, so here we go, right here, right there. So, for example, Mercury goes around the sun in 88 days, Venus 225, Earth 365, Mars 687 days. So it's almost like 2 years. Jupiter 4,333 days. And, so we get into the years and years it takes for some of these planets to orbit the sun. Now, I don't anticipate Planet X taking that long to get around the sun, but the point is, if it's entering our solar system by September, it might take it another year, maybe even 2 years before it actually gets to where the Earth is. Might be faster. I don't know. I don't know how to calculate things like that. But the point is, things are going to affect us here very soon. And so that, therefore, we know, as Jesus said, as I brought that out, Jesus says, it's the beginning of sorrows. These nations and kingdoms, they're fighting, they're battling one another. Famines, pestilence. Because why? This binary system's causing all kinds of problems already. But as we go further down, like I said, we start getting in, the sun becomes dark and the moon shall not give her light. And again, he goes here, the heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words will not pass away. But that day and hour knoweth no man, not even the angels of heaven. Then he compares it to the days of Noah. Wow. They were marrying and giving in marriage, mingling the seed. Well, check out Daniel. We're going to get into Daniel tonight. I'll be teaching from over there. And I think you're going to find some very interesting things on that teaching. So anyway, God bless you. For those of you here on Patreon, thank you for your support of the broadcast we do here. We really appreciate that. You really help us tremendously in what we're doing. But God bless you and thank you for that. You have a great